Welcome to the Coffee Cast with Stephen Hayward of Project X. Hopefully over a good cup of coffee, we're going to have a great conversation. So please join us to welcome this week's guest on the Coffee Cast.
So I'd like to welcome everybody to a conversation I'm having with Peter Townsend of Moxie Retail. We've been working together for the last several months on some really innovative ways to do insight into the shopping experience, the retail side, the consumer side, and even the manufacturing value out of what happens in a retailer environment. So welcome.
Thank you, Steve.
Then maybe you could tell me a little bit about Moxie Retail and what you guys do.
Thank you. Moxie Retail is a relatively new company. It's basically, we call it a new age shopper marketing agency. What we've done is we've integrated our histories of art and the science side of the business model. So the art from the designing of the store and the science from the math that makes it a fact-based decision-making process. So we developed an opportunity to better scorecard in-store shopping behavior, and that's what we've used Project X for, and that's what we're here to talk about.
So we kind of got together almost as a fluke because we've been doing some work in the RFID area, and Peter was a part of his about tracking the store and the experience of the shopper, and there was RFID involved, and we started chatting, and we didn't go down that conversation as much as we did about, okay, what do we do about the data? How do we capture it? How do we merge all the data together?
Yeah, it's all these different views of information and how do you integrate those?
Exactly, and we have experience in retail, but you guys are the retail experts on new types of answers. The regular shopping basket analysis, it's all great, shelf analysis, it's all great, but how do you merge a traffic pattern and loyalty points and the shelf?
It's like atomic level merchandising. You get right down to the molecular level, right? When the customers engage with the shelf, how long they're there for and how long.
So what kind of new opportunity does this bring for the retailer, the consumer, and the manufacturer?
Yeah, well, there are three key parties. And first of all, the retailer. Think about the retailer and the investment they have in the real estate. Talk about a brick and mortar store or grocery chain. A lot of dollars invested in the capital of a store, in the design of a store. That's the stuff we used to do in the past, right? So you have destinations and signature zones that they think are going to keep the customer loyal and bring the customer back to the store. We want to be able to scorecard the effectiveness of those. Are they going to those parts of the store? How long are they engaging with them then? And all they purchasing? So we have a methodology that's able to track that customer through the store and measure their engagement at each one of those intervals.
So when I think about that, I think about the kind of long-standing retail joke about diapers and beer, right, at the convenience store, and clearly what you're looking to do is take this into a more scientific and really fact-based kind of environment.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because that example was based on loyalty card data management, and again, some of our team are from that background, and they were looking at all that from transactions, so it's a market basket analysis. That's what they measured their conversion rate from. But basically, from the time a customer entered the store to the time they checked out, it was a black hole of data. They didn't know where they went, how long they were in these parts of the store. So that's what we were able to bring to the table.
So that's the retailer's perspective, and there's a lot more I know you're doing and taking. We'll try and add that as some extras later on. But tell me from the consumer point of view.
Well, a customer, and particularly in high SKU intensity type stores, like a drugstore or a grocery store, they've got some 20,000 some odd SKUs of which to choose from. So it's kind of mind-numbing, and that's how a customer interacts with the store. They kind of go into this routine behavior, right? So the op was to measure then how a customer does engage with the store and use time and space as those new dimensions. So how long were they in front of the soup section before they made a decision? Were they there so long that it was too complex, they just alienated the basket? Right? So the customer, basically what we're trying to use the science for is then to design the art of a store so that it's more efficient for them to shop. Right? So beer and diapers. Do you put beer and diapers in the same zone? Because they're already going to buy it. What's their normal shopping path for a stock-up trip or a fill-in trip? How can we make it more convenient by putting those associated products on the right path to purchase?
Okay, and we also know that some people have gone the opposite extreme from a retailer point of view and forced the consumer to follow a designated path to go from start to finish in the store, which allows you to get lots of traction, but it can bother the consumer in terms of in and out type shopping, or you're full shop or whatever it's going to be.
I think it's not like an IKEA, an event, when you grocery shop. It's far too routine for some of those paths. But nonetheless, our role is to scorecard what the effectiveness of that path is. How you design your store is really still up to you. And we're just there to standardize those types of metrics and the way you can visualize that data for you to make better decisions.
Okay. So we've talked about the retailer, we've talked about the consumer, we've left out the manufacturer, a key part of the ecosystem.
They're the ones paying for it, right? So, I mean, manufacturers, think of it that way. Tremendous amount of their P&L now is spent on trade promotions. Okay. So you can't keep doing these discounts or promotions solely on price. Right? So there's got to be a better alternative than just a price discount to convince a customer or a consumer to buy your product. So there's that, as well as, think of the media spends from manufacturers. They're no longer traditional media spends. They're spending more and more of their money in the store. And why? It's because that's where the customer is making the decisions. Right? So you want to be able to influence them at the point of purchase, the moment of truth, as Procter & Gamble says. So more and more money is coming down into the store. Now think about that. The marketing people are used to their gross rating points, reach and frequency. Okay. What they don't have now in a store is traffic, right? So that's basically what our solution's coming to. Measure the traffic counts by parts of the store, and that's basically your reach. The frequency. What's the messaging they're getting throughout their shopping trip? And that's basically what we can scorecard now.
So really, it's around aligning those three kind of points of view based on fact is your opportunity.
That's right.
What you do to add the insight, my secret sauce, I always talk about what you bring in those sort of conversations is really where you're going to create that new realization and opportunity.
That's right. Just summarize those 3 points. So first of all, the retailer. The retailer has to be able to maximize the shopper's yield. Basically, so when they're in the store, how much are they spending? How much more could they spend? How can we scorecard the leakage or the missed opportunities by parts of the store because they're not buying in that store? So maximizing shopper yield is one. From the manufacturer perspective, it's as much about measuring the return on their investment from merchandising conditions.
Like placement and
display, their shelf, how you can maximize that. So it's really a micro analysis of the space. And then finally, from a customer's perspective, you want to minimize the customer effort in shopping the store. So that's how we can lay the store out more effectively by combining the art and the science.
Yeah, I know we just finished having a conversation with one of your clients about how subtle they'll go and talking about an area that they have that they're going to move out or moving things around, and it is a very fluid environment, and they need to really take an opportunity around that seasonally or opportunistically.
Well, exactly. Yeah, that's right.
So tell me how you solve that problem.
Well, a lot of it there is already the data available, right? So our experience is mine from working with manufacturers and category management and Nielsen. I work for Nielsen as well. There's already a lot of data available, right? So you have transaction level data, you have loyalty card data, you have planogram data or space sales data, right? So those are just 3 of those views of data, but you have to integrate them. And that's where you came into it, is how can we integrate all these data sources to have a better view of the store and to present that in an insightful way. So in effect, we're adding new dimensions there, such as time, right? So how long are they in the section? Time dimension, or dwell time, we call it engagement rates. Another thing we're measuring then is the conversion rate based on the traffic, right? So where is it high traffic and low conversion? How do you manage those sections? So we needed to visualize that data. And the best way to do it is with the store layout. So that's where we work with yourself and the IntelliShape type program you've developed to be able to visualize the store. So we've come up with our secret sauce, as we call it, which is how to code the products in the store.
How to track it.
How to track it.
And there was a lot of work around how to go and figure out. We used a couple of different technologies to track the cart. And learning, and that's going to keep evolving, and technologies will change, and we'll have stuff on an iPhone or an Android or whatever it is that may change the way you can track the shopper. But right now, in a non-invasive, non-privacy breaking kind of model, you created that capture system. And then we took, as you say, we took all that other data, merged it together, and there was still a lot of work on mapping that all together.
Yeah, that was the key. Is how do you present that? Because last thing people need is more data. Right? It's what you do with the data. and how you visualize it. That's where tools like the MicroStrategy come out, right? To be able to be proper business intelligence platforms. So we were able to leverage that already with what the retailer had to present these new views on the data in a way they'd never seen before. So we can get down to, yes, space to sales, but we can actually get down to the time and the traffic counts by section then as well. So new metrics on how to scorecard it and how to present the data.
Yeah, and it was a very intriguing experience for me to watch as we went through that data transformation underlying, because you're right, there were multiple sources of data that we had to pull together.
Yeah.
And then, merging them and managing them, and then obviously presenting them in a useful and insightful manner through the visualization model. And so we used IntelliSight, which is a new product of ours. It's an offshoot of Geodash that actually takes you in building and allows you to go and see that kind of visualization, as well as merging it with the standard dashboarding of your key metrics, and then giving you the opportunity to bring in some of the new insightful stuff that is like a new retail type metric.
Yeah, and we kind of summarize it with the 4 points: customer, cart, path, and purchase. So customer, cart, path, and purchase. Knowing the customer where they are in the store is as important to know where the product is in the store. When you add that with the cart that enables to put the path sequence together, you've got a whole new visual of the store.
But then you've added, when you talk about customer, you've also added the offshoot of that, which is loyalty. So when you tagged and you know who the person is because of their loyalty card, you can actually look at some very intriguing new opportunities of understanding and insight about those, whether they're in that category or they're just, I'm going to group my high value shoppers, or
exactly. That's the way we did look at it.
The people that are in and out, so you can go and see what the path is when someone's only in the store for 5 or 10 minutes.
Yeah, let's face it, the UPC started tracking the products, right? So there was a process designed around that called category management, right? That evolved into the loyalty, CRM. Basically, that's a UPC for a customer, right? So those two layers of data are what we're integrating. What they didn't know is where the customer was in the store. Actually, a lot of them didn't know where the product was in the store. Planogram compliance is a key issue that is lost and is part of this equation.
Well, it's funny, it's kind of a natural offshoot of what you had to do to be able to do this.
Yeah, so we have a process in order that is able to identify where the products are in the store, not just grocery or dairy or deli products that are somewhat coded already, but others like meat sections, produce sections. So yes, we code the whole store up so you know where the products are. That's the one view. And then the carts, tracking the carts as a proxy for the customer. We know where the carts are, where the customers are, so you can therefore layer the data in.
And we're talking about a large volume of data. We're talking about all the transactions, all the SKUs.
Yeah, all the carts.
There's a seasonality about where things might be. Stores go through the redesign, and some of the stuff is really
every week the flyer changes, right? Every week the promotion changes. So you needed, and this is where we worked with you to code the promotional display areas then as well. They're just basically locations. So you have fast-moving data changes there, where they can change weekly in terms of what's on display. So that was a really interesting layer there too for the manufacturers and the retailer to demonstrate the sales by space, not from the home shelf, but secondary places.
So tell me where you think this is going.
Well, first of all, I think the opposite. We need to standardize the metrics then in terms of how you scorecard a store's effectiveness. And that starts with measuring traffic counts by zone and time dimension there as well, how long they're spending in parts of the store. So we get new facts, store penetration rates, and that has to be standardized. The other op then coming out of this then is, where we develop it more towards the business, from business to business metrics to business to consumer, business to customer. So think about that. You need a product finder, right? Well, you can just flip out the phone and you'll be able to find where the products are from your shopping list. Wouldn't that be great?
Or the effectiveness of a coupon on the entry of the door. Does that change the pattern? Does it change it up? You'll actually be able to do that
scorecard
real time, because we're taking that data as often as we can consume it. So in some cases it's daily, some cases it's weekly.
Right.
But we're pulling all that in to be able to give that retail.
Yeah, and that's where basically the union came together between ourselves, right? Is that we come up with the business ideas. It's a lot of data to integrate. And we needed Project X and the skill to integrate that type of data to get us the scorecards we needed. Right? So.
And now it's about, as you say, standardizing it. So it's more than just around the sets of stores and retailers that you've been working with and creating a very standard?
Well, we
kind
need
of
to
approach?
roll this out, right? I mean,
Yeah.
the manufacturers, for example, would love to know the conversion rates and how they vary between banners or regions or districts and such. So standardizing those metrics is one of the goals. The other value proposition we have for the retailers, of course, is the reporting, right? So, the planograms right now, are they compliant at store? No. We can scorecard that, so we can be able to give them their space to sales metrics more effectively, and these new dimensions of how long the customer is spending in those times. So it's key.
Great. Well, thank you very much. I really
thank you.
appreciate you spending the time and
Good luck.
letting your customer hang out in their store and have some fun and learn a little bit. So thanks for joining us, and stay tuned for more. I think I'll be talking to Peter in a lot more detail about certain areas of what he's doing and what its value is back to his end customers. Thanks a lot.
For more information about Project X, please join us on our website at www.pxltd.ca or hop on our blog and join in the conversation at pxltd.typepad.com. This is a copyright of Project X Limited. Thank you for joining us today.